Hello out there. I hope you've all had a good week. This is White Ash Flies, and I'm Colin Mahoney. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, I'm reading 3 poems from Wallace Stevens' first collection, Harmonium, published in 1923 when Stevens was a mere 44 years old. Like the groundbreaking American composer Charles Ives, Stevens was a successful insurance executive by day with the Hartford Accident and Indemnity Company, now known as the Hartford. There was a persistent evasiveness in Stevens' life and in his poetry, an inscrutability leavened by sensuality and playfulness. The critic Hugh Kenner placed Stevens, alongside T.S. Eliot, squarely within the tradition of English nonsense poets, such as Mother Goose and Edward Lear. I found Kenner's insight helpful in my own appreciation, if not my understanding, of Stevens' poetry. Interestingly enough, the poet's evasiveness did not preclude his getting into a fistfight with Ernest Hemingway in 1936, outside the home of a mutual acquaintance. Hemingway bragged in a letter that he gave him a good beating, but the fact that Hemingway was 36 years old at the time and Stevens 56 doesn't exactly cover the novelist in glory. That fistfight, along with many of the poems in Harmonium, took place in Key West, where Stevens and his wife Elsie vacationed throughout the 1920s and 30s. And today's poems have a decidedly sultry, strange South Florida air to them. You can find all White Ash Flies recordings on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Anchor FM, and Acast. And I'm on Twitter, at ColinMahoney15. And now, 3 poems by Wallace Stevens on White Ash Flies. Frogs eat butterflies. Snakes eat frogs. Hogs eat snakes. Men eat hogs. It is true that the rivers went nosing like swine, tugging at banks, until they seemed bland belly sounds in somnolent troughs, that the air was heavy with the breath of these swine, the breath of turgid summer, and heavy with thunder's ratapalax, that the man who erected this cabin, planted this field and tended it a while, knew not the quirks of imagery, that the hours of his indolent arid days, grotesque with this nosing in banks, this somnolence and ratapalax, seemed to suckle themselves on his arid being, as the swine-like rivers suckled themselves while they went seaward to the sea mouths. A high-toned old Christian woman. Poetry is the supreme fiction, madam. Take the moral law and make a knave of it, and from the knave build haunted heaven. Thus the conscience is converted into poems, like windy citherns hankering for hymns. We agree in principle, that's clear. But take the opposing law and make a peristyle, and from the peristyle project a mask beyond the planets. Thus, our bawdiness, unpurged by epitaph, indulged at last, is equally converted into poems, squiggling like saxophones. And palm for palm, madam, we are where we began. Allow, therefore, that in the planetary scene your disaffected flagellants, well stuffed, smacking their muzzy bellies in parade, proud of such novelties of the sublime, such tink and tank and tunk-a-tunk-tunk, may, merely may, madam, whip from themselves a jovial hullabaloo among the spheres. This will make widows wince, but fictive things wink as they will. Wink most when widows wins. O Florida, venereal soil. A few things for themselves. Convolvulus and coral, buzzards and live moss, tiestas from the Keys. A few things for themselves, Florida, venereal soil. Disclosed to the lover. The dreadful sundry of this world, the Cuban, Polodovsky, the Mexican women, the Negro undertaker killing the time between corpses, fishing for crayfish. Virgin of boorish births, swiftly in the nights, in the porches of Key West, behind the bougainvilleas, after the guitar is asleep. Lasciviously as the wind, you come tormenting, insatiable. When you might sit, a scholar of darkness sequestered over the sea, wearing a clear tiara of red and blue and red, sparkling, solitary, still, in the high sea shadow. Donna, Donna dark, stooping in indigo gown and cloudy constellations. Conceal yourself or disclose fewest things to the lover. A hand that bears a thick-leaved fruit, a pungent bloom against your shade,